short video training module on how to conduct training workshops and seminars for your consulting business so you can grow your business more quickly and profitably. I've conducted over 25 different workshops and seminars just in the past 2 years in the areas of consulting, capital raising, marketing, and business improvement. And I'm going to share some of the tips that I've learned the hard way. I've had workshops and seminars that I thought would make us money and we just broke even. I've had some seminars that I thought would break even and develop a lot of client leads for us, and they ended up costing us $7,000, $8,000. So things can definitely not go as planned, and by following these tips you'll be able to get more long-term value out of your seminars and workshops, whether they're workshops that cost you $100,000 to put on or $5,000 to put on. These tips and best practices can be used for seminars of all types. So the first tip is to remember that in most cases, whether you have 5 people in the room or 500 people in the room, what's most valuable is that you think about why you're getting people to come in the first place. Are you charging them $2,000 to come to your workshop and you're trying to generate a large amount of revenue from it? Or is your mission to expand your brand, get more leads for some high-end consulting business or consulting service you offer, or is it something in the middle? Most of the time, the people who are in the room and have paid to come to your training, if you have the right product line or service lines or consulting services available, those people are very well qualified to then sign up and pay for one of those high-cost services. The trick is balancing getting a lot of people in the room with charging enough so that the right people come. If a seminar runs all day long and it costs $50, most people are going to think that it's really horrible and ran by somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. If it's an all-day seminar and you charge $300 to $400, that's different. If you charge $700 to $1,000, those are all different price points, different types of people are going to show up. So you need to think about that, because you don't want to charge so much that nobody shows up, because some people might not trust you enough to pay that $700. Another thing to consider is putting a very strong guarantee on your sales page when you're trying to sell your workshop or seminar. This is something that people often get afraid of. Just a couple months ago in New York, I held a all-day long intensive workshop for 8 hours, and I charged only $470 for the workshop, but some people I knew in that industry didn't know me very well. And so what I did was put a guarantee on that sales page that basically said, if you join this, if you pay for this workshop and you attend, and you go through the whole thing, and then at any time during the workshop, after the workshop, you feel like you didn't get enough value because you didn't like the location, you didn't like the content of the workshop, you didn't like the exercises, you didn't like the people you're sitting next to, for any reason, if you didn't get a ton of value out of it, then just send me an email, say you didn't get $470 in value, and I'll give you 100% of your money back, no questions asked. And what's funny is that I was a little bit scared to do this because we haven't had that strong of a guarantee at one of our events before. And I talked to one of my long-term consulting clients who was sponsoring the event, and they just flat out told me 2 different times over the phone, don't do it. You're going to get people who sign up and just refund, and they're just steal your knowledge and steal your time, and they just, they're not going to want to pay for it. If they can get their money back, everybody's going to ask for their money back. And what's funny is that after the event was done, we got a lot of feedback and feedback forms from everybody, but not even some of the people who had negative things on the feedback form, like, oh, I wish it was a half-day event instead, or I wish the room was larger so we had more participants, etc. What's funny is not a single person refunded, not a single person said, I want my money back, etc. So the point here, not is that I'm good at getting people not to refund, but the point is don't be too scared about putting a really strong guarantee about your workshop or seminar, because think about it, you probably are offering this seminar to make some short-term money, but really long-term is where a lot of the value will come from, the long-term brand value in those 3 or 4 people that will be in the room and work with you long-term. Or there's 2 or 3 people in the room, they're going to upgrade to an expensive product you offer, an expensive consulting service, etc. So really, if the person didn't get value out of your event, then they shouldn't have to pay for it. Or if the person is refunding just because they want to be cheap and not pay you for the great advice you gave them, then one of two things happen. Either the advice you gave them is not very unique and genuine, or they're the type of person you really don't want to work with in your business at all, and you'd much rather them go work with other competing consulting firms because they can waste their time and fight them on their project deliverables at their consulting firm. So really, it's not much of a risk at all at offering this type of guarantee. I definitely encourage you to try it out. It can work very well. The next tip is to look at your marketing for the event, for the workshop that you're putting on, and just make sure that it's very benefits focused. It's very tempting to say, within this workshop, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover ISO 2006, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover the 5-step model. And it's good to tell people what's going to be included, for sure. You should have 5 or 7 bullet points on that, but make sure you lead with 5 or 7 bullet points on the benefits. What is the person going to walk out of the room being able to do? What is the big time-saving benefit? What's going to make them more money? What's going to save them money? How can they gain best practices from industry experts, etc.? And just focus on those first. And you should have 4 to 7 or 5 to 7 of those up front very early on the sales page or the sales letter that you're using to sell the workshop. So that's really important, and it's easy to overlook. Even if you've been trained in persuasive writing or copywriting or marketing, it's really easy to forget that. The next tip is to make sure that during the event you have a handout, workbook, a worksheet of some type that keeps people interacting with you at the event. Again, it kind of keeps their attention a little bit better. Usually when I hand out worksheets, I do exercises with the worksheets. So one thing I'll do is speak for 10, 12 minutes, sometimes 15 or 20, and then at the longest, after 15 or 20 minutes, I'll say, all right, now we just covered these 4 ideas. In our case, it was about, guarantees that we just talked about. And I might say, look at worksheet page number 6 about guarantees and write down what you need to do to make your guarantee stronger, and then underneath that, write down the plan for putting that in place within 1 week from now, so that whenever you offer a workshop or seminar, you have a very strong guarantee. Write out the type of guarantee you're comfortable with right now in your worksheet. And they'll give people 3 or 4 minutes to write that down, and then I'll say, okay, now get up and speak with somebody that you don't know here, introduce yourself, and then go work with them and tell them what you just learned and how you're going to apply it to your business. And then everyone gets up, they get to network, exchange business cards with somebody, they get to stand up, get out of their chair, get their blood moving, and it's really good to do that during an event. I've had many people come up and compliment me after the event, saying that was their favorite part, that they got to meet a ton of people, or they hate sitting there listening to people speak for hours and hours at most seminars. So you can really make yourself appear more experienced and as a better presenter maybe than you otherwise would by using that technique. Another tip is to make sure that after the event is over, that you have the contact details of everyone who came to your event saved within a database, a customer relationship management CRM system, an Excel spreadsheet, something so you can send a couple follow-up emails. You want to send a follow-up email immediately, thanking them for coming to the event and giving them anything you promised during the event, such as the PowerPoint or handouts. And then you also want to keep in touch so that the next time you have an event, hopefully on a slightly different topic, you can invite them to come again and say, bring a friend for free or bring a friend for half off. And that'll get more people coming back to your event over and over and over again. The next tip is really about, this is most mundane tip, but it's something that can be easily overlooked and not often known by people that haven't done a lot of seminars and workshops. This is the final tip here for this video, is to watch out for catering costs. Oftentimes you can get a room to present in for $500, $1,000, $1,500, but many times there'll be a food minimum attached to that. You just have to really watch out, because those food minimums can really sneak up on you. If you have a budget and maybe your team has decided to invest $3,000 on doing a workshop or $30,000 on doing a workshop, lots of rooms. For example, we had an event at the Harvard Club once, and for some of the rooms, I think they have a $70 a head or $100 a head fee that you have to pay for food on top of the room cost and everything else. And what can happen is, their menu structures are obviously set up so that, it might not be easy to get it right at $70 a head. It might go up to $120, $140 a head, and all of a sudden you need more sponsors to cover your event costs, or you have to charge more money to cover your costs. So really watch out for that. What we've learned the hard way is that it's usually best not to have an open bar. Instead, have 1 or 2 drink tickets if you're going to be serving drinks at all. Also, it's smart to provide a breakfast if you're doing a full day event, but then let people out for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half for lunch, then have them come back, and then in the afternoon have another coffee break and you supply the coffee and snacks for that. That can be a good middle ground way to go. Some events, they just say show up at 9:30, we'll have an hour and a half break for lunch, we'll have 2 half-hour coffee breaks, and that lets people, do whatever they'd like during those breaks. They can network, they can go out for lunch together with others at the event that they've met, they can go out for coffee, etc. And this way your catering costs are, pretty much zero, and you just have to pay for the event space. So the larger consulting firm that you run or you operate in, the less you'll have to worry about, saving $5,000 here or $10,000 there. But most people want to run their business as efficiently as possible. And if you spend less money on catering, you could spend more money on having a great PowerPoint presentation, a great website, great sales materials, great mailings that go out, a great catalog of your services, a bigger Google AdWords campaign for your workshop, etc. So there's always more efficient ways to use your money, whether you have a lot of it or a little of it, to spend on marketing your workshop. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to create really powerful seminars and workshops that are going to really grow your consulting firm and help it become more profitable. Thank you for joining us. This is businesstraining.com, where you can earn master's level qualifications to help you make more money.